Welcome back, guys. This is Of Stone and Clay podcast, episode 147. Today we have Riah Packer with us. Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Riah is a artist of many sorts, right?
Yeah, multifaceted.
Yeah. Riah does claymation. She's in the band The Penny Candies. You are a children's author. What else do you do? You do design, you do wardrobe. What else?
I just say artistic design, music. I love exploring all the facets, and I'm still learning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
of course.
I'm a full-time student, theater degree, and so I've been learning more of like the back end of that. So, production and as well as like writing.
Okay. Very cool. So you just do a bunch of stuff all the time.
I'm curious.
Yeah. Do you feel like you have a favorite medium or maybe just like right now you're in a mood right now?
Yeah. It does like alternate for sure. And right now I wish I had more time to be creative. I feel like I'm too busy to be creative.
Yeah, you're just inside of projects you're already committed to.
Yeah, and full-time student, and we have 6 kids and 7th on the way.
Oh, wow.
And so
Congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's just busy. Like life is busy.
Yeah.
But what I crave to be doing is more sculpting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would love to be doing more claymation.
Nice. That's really cool. So if you had like a 1-month paid vacation by yourself and just a bunch of clay, you'd be in a good spot.
Yeah, I would try to produce like a small short episode of my children's story, probably.
Oh, very cool. Okay. So tell me about do you just have one children's book or do you have a few?
So I've self-published just a couple of children's books, and then books for new mamas, that type of thing. And the one that I've been working on for over a decade is called Rupert.
Okay.
And it's like my passion project, and it's my baby.
Well, tell me about Rupert.
Well, it's a beautiful story. And I experienced it through a dream. And it was the most poignant, beautiful dream I'd ever experienced.
Are you a big dreamer naturally?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Like, when I do have these types of dreams, they feel very divine.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And sometimes it happens in the form of songwriting too, where I'll just wake up with a fully realized song that I feel like was handed to me.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how this story felt. And I had experienced it from the perspective of the main character, who I knew was a young boy, but like I was myself in the story. I didn't really have a name. And navigated just the changes of childhood. And through that, he had these imaginary friends. They were more like monsters that others couldn't see, but they were his dearest and nearest friends. And like everything to what they looked like and their names, even these little characters that are like fluffy little colorful pets, called the Bumbaloos, you know, and this gentle sage dragon named Blue. And how as Rupert grew up, he started forgetting what children know, and one by one his monsters would die and go to the sun, which is where monsters go when they die.
Of course.
And Blue, his dearest, nearest friend, the big dragon, who did not have wings, and that was important to the story, the dragon without wings, he chose to stay. He chose to not go to the sun regardless of Rupert forgetting about him. And so it's kind of about, it deals with loss, you know, it deals with grief, it deals with the changes of growing old. And then at the end, you know, they reunite when he remembers, and they go to the sun together. And it was just golden and beautiful, and I woke up sobbing, like just I felt all of the emotions. and it was so complex.
Yeah.
And there were still gaps.
Mhm.
Dreams are weird.
Yeah, sure.
And so there were still gaps, but I spent years, and I mean like years, trying to encapsulate that dream.
Mhm.
And I felt like, okay, this story was given to me, and now I have a responsibility to share
Yeah.
it. Um, and I can't screw it up,
Right?
like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have to tell it properly.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually almost been 15 years now that I've been developing it and changing it and like refining it till I'm ready to share it. But
Mhm.
the tricky thing is that it doesn't follow like a traditional
Narrative.
storyline.
Uh-huh.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Storyline or narrative. And so, especially in like the,
Children's book genre.
well, even just in America, it doesn't
Uh-huh.
follow the norm of what like movies or
Yeah.
even TV shows were what we're used to.
Mhm.
And so I've been trying to figure out like how do I tell this story? What medium do I use?
Mhm.
And I've learned that it just needs to be a combination of everything. It can't just be words. It can't just be a children's book with pictures and
Mhm.
words. Like we need music, we need
Yeah.
visuals, we need all of it to tell the story
Mhm.
properly. And so, yeah, I've been trying to develop in what little time I have extra, um, a way that I can share short episodes that are like isolated,
Uh-huh.
but
Standalone.
standalone, but like accumulatively tell the overarching story,
Mhm.
and so it's something that people can follow and enjoy, and you get to know the
Mhm. Yeah.
characters. But it, yeah, just doesn't follow like a traditional
Right. So has the story
arc.
become pretty long?
It is pretty
Yeah.
long. Yeah. Um, and that's also a tricky thing is I
It's almost like it
will,
needs to be like a TV series.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think we could tell it in a mini series.
Uh-huh.
But I think it would be more fun to do shorter episodes, but
Yeah.
more of them.
Mhm.
Especially for kids,
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not just meant for kids. That's, I think, another really important part of Rupert is it's meant for everyone.
Mhm.
It's very universal.
Yeah. That's cool. So why do you feel like, you know, you were drawn to this story about whether it's mostly about loss or friendship or
Mhm.
the afterlife or what are those things that for you maybe you've always been passionate about or you've wanted to tell these stories?
That's a great question, and I was struggling with it for a long time because like I thought I knew what the story was about. Like
Mhm.
I thought it was about death and
Mhm.
loss. And it wasn't until I got into script writing classes at UVU,
Mhm.
the college that I'm going to, that I learned how to really dive into themes.
Mhm.
And I was able to kind of condense it and boil it down and be like, oh, that's what this is actually about. And this is why it came to me and why it was so important. And it was more about death of self-expression.
Mhm.
The story is more about losing yourself um, than it is about like actual death.
Mhm.
And I felt,
An emotional death maybe.
yeah, and even maybe a creative death.
Mhm.
And in my first marriage, I was just very suppressed, right? And um it was not a safe environment to be creative. It was not a safe environment to have emotions.
Yeah.
um and I felt like I lost myself through that,
Yeah.
and
How long were you married?
almost 11 years.
Okay.
And coming out of it, I had to like find my voice again
Mm-hmm.
and my confidence um and Rupert, I feel like he kind of caves to the pressures and expectations of the world
Mm-hmm.
instead of staying true to himself,
Yeah.
right? And what he knows to be true for himself. Um and it he ends up in a really dark place,
Yeah.
and I was in a really dark place. I wasn't willing to admit it during a lot of it,
Yeah, sure.
but yeah, I felt like I was drowning in a lot of ways. And so um now I can see like myself in Rupert
Mm-hmm.
in different ways
Yeah.
that I didn't before.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So, why do you think when you come out of a relationship like that, I feel like, and maybe this wasn't your experience, but I feel like so many people, even though they realize, man, this was not a good relationship, this was toxic, or this was hurtful, or it suppressed me. Why do you feel like there's some added shame that you feel when you get out of that? Did you experience that at all?
Oh, wanting to get out of it, I absolutely felt shame
Mm.
and guilt.
Even though it
Um,
was like destroying you.
yeah, 100%. Um, like I felt responsible in a lot of ways
Mm.
for it. And, what what was I doing wrong? What could I have done differently? Um, and the commitment that I made, to him and to our family,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was betraying it,
Yeah.
something just so much bigger than myself. It was hard um, to even admit that I wanted out.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Um, yeah.
How did you get the courage to finally leave?
Um, I don't know that I had the courage to leave on my own. It just kind of got to really um it got to the point where it was not safe.
Yeah.
Um and he actually had to be physically like removed, and so um the kids and I had about a month where there uh, was a restraining order.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was in that time that I was able to see things a little more
Yeah.
clearly,
Yeah.
because even though I wanted it, I was still so afraid
Mm-hmm.
to actually follow through
Yeah.
with requesting for a divorce. It felt impossible. Um, and so, yeah, it kind of got pushed on me,
Right.
honestly.
Right. Yeah. You needed sort of an intervention of sorts.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
How do you, in that period, and maybe you didn't do it immediately, but how do you communicate to your kids kind of what's going on in that chaos?
Yeah. Unfortunately, they kind of got caught in the whirlwind.
Yeah.
And so it was tricky trying to explain it, and there wasn't really a way to justify it,
Yeah.
you know? And so the advice that I was given from like professionals was to just let them have their opinion of it.
Mm.
And obviously, if they ask questions, then you answer them honestly. But my son, the middle one of the
Mm-hmm.
three, he was the only one that was asleep during it was just a traumatic
Yeah.
experience. And so he just woke up, and his siblings, the next morning he woke up and his siblings were the ones that told him like, oh, dad's in jail. and um and he thought it was my fault.
Mm.
He blamed me
Yeah.
for years.
Really?
Yeah.
How old was he at the time?
He would have been 6.
Mm.
Maybe, oh, yeah. I think he was 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Um and he's almost 12 now, but I couldn't really correct him much. I just kind of had to let him work through it with his own I don't know, in his own way, in his own time. And then when he was ready and willing to have conversations and ask real questions, like I could answer them in age appropriate ways. But yeah, it was a hard thing to navigate with the kids.
Yeah.
I feel like my oldest, she witnessed and experienced a lot of the brunt of what I experienced too.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a lot of shared experiences. That when it happened, I feel like she almost had like a sigh of relief
Yeah.
of like, oh, like this is better this
Mm-hmm.
way. And she got it.
Yeah.
Like she understood
Yeah.
why. So yeah, it's still an ongoing conversation. You know, when I was seriously dating my current husband,
Mm-hmm.
I remember driving home after spending time with my husband and his kids, and all like my boys just broke down in the car and were like, why can't you just get back together with dad? You know,
Yeah.
I just want to be a family again.
Right.
And it's kind of like a heartbreaking and uncomfortable thing to have to say. But like the reality was like, well, your dad and I weren't happy together.
Yeah.
You know, we actually didn't get along.
Mm-hmm.
and I was sad a lot. I felt lonely and sad a lot of the time. And I think like that conversation was the first time they were like, oh, really? Like you guys didn't like each other?
Yeah.
You know? And it's not like we didn't like each other, but it's like we weren't a good fit.
Right.
You know? And so it's an ongoing discussion still, obviously, but it was definitely tricky going on. And as they get older,
Mm-hmm.
like I feel like they deal with it at every developmental stage again.
Yeah. Right.
Right. And so it's almost like they think like we think we're over it or whatever, past
Mm-hmm.
it, and then it's like it all comes up again in a new way for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so tough. How did you like I'm always so interested in people's stories when they experience such intense heartbreak, and then how do you reopen your heart when your heart's been so broken and crushed and you feel like you have nothing left to give, and you feel like I don't know if I trust people anymore, I don't know if I trust myself. How did you kind of go from that to opening up your heart again and availing yourself to connection?
Well, I that's a good question.
You're like, I don't know.
I I feel like wow, this goes way back to high school actually. I grew up in a very loving home. Like my dad is just so fun and sweet, and my mom is like the most gentle person ever. And but at the same time, there wasn't a whole lot of like affection that was displayed to us. And so I was not comfortable with affection. And you know, I was almost 19, I think, when I had my first boyfriend. And I remember having so much anxiety over even the idea of being in a relationship.
Right.
And I wrestled with it for years, like literally years, you know, because guys were interested and would ask, and even if I was close to them or even liked them, I just like could not commit
It just
to
felt
a
too scary.
relationship. It was scary.
Yeah.
And
that's hard for people to understand too.
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And I felt like it kind of created chasms between me and a lot of people, you know. But I remember I'm a writer. Like I love to write, and that's how I get my thoughts and feelings out. And so I remember just writing and trying to just like wrap my head around it. And it was like, well, this is what I'm choosing right now. And like, it's pretty lonely, you know? And this isn't what I want forever. But the alternative is really scary. You know, like I have to be vulnerable and open up to somebody. And I don't know if I like can do that. But I was like, I need to make a decision one way or the other. And so I remember making the choice of like, okay, I am just going to choose to be in a relationship, and and I guess we'll see what happens. Like I
Yeah.
had no expectations. I was
Mhm.
like, I don't know what that's gonna be like. But I had to at least be willing to try.
Yeah.
Like, and so yeah, I dated a guy, like, I guess it was very end of my senior year. And the poor guy, uh I think it took like 2 months for me to even let him hold my hand.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I was just like no touchy. And we had so much fun
Just a
together.
guy's worst nightmare.
Yeah, seriously. It was so, but that's just where I
Yeah.
was. And so I think that that choice, it was like a literal decision of like, I'm going to do this regardless of my fears,
Mhm.
because I believe, like, I have faith that the benefits outweigh,
Yeah.
the cons or whatever. The pros outweigh the cons. Because I had this visual and this hope and this desire for, this ideal,
Mhm.
and it's like, well, I'm not going to reach that ideal if I stay alone.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, it's almost like, well, what alternative do I have?
yeah,
Like I have to go over this chasm and try and figure it out.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think it was similar to that. And I'd actually gotten into a relationship after the divorce that was healing in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
Like it was just like a more gentle and safe. It was like a safe landing,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. And he was just such a good friend, and I needed a good friend in that
Mhm.
moment. I also had like the most incredible support system
Yeah.
during that time. And so when that relationship dissolved, which I think going into it, we both knew that it wasn't going to be a long-term one.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, but it's like we both needed it at that time.
Yeah.
We needed each other,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of relationships like that. And
Yeah.
sometimes from the outside, maybe it looks shallow or frivolous,
Yeah.
but sometimes, yeah, you just need that person for a small season.
Yeah.
And there's no real like end game. It's just like, no, like they are healing me in this moment. And maybe we don't view the world in the same way and don't want the same thing. So we won't end up together.
Yeah.
But man, we need each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it was.
Yeah.
And I'm like so grateful for that relationship. And then when it ended, I think that's like when everything just kind of like um I was able to actually experience the grief in full
Mm-hmm.
of what had happened, and um experience like just that heart-wrenching loneliness as a single mom.
Yeah.
Um and yeah, it was like a very disparaging couple years.
Yeah.
And I never thought that I would be the person that like saw a happy couple and was mad about it. But
Yeah.
I was that person.
Right.
Like I was just like the happy go lucky that
Uh-huh.
would like get teary eyed when I saw old people holding
Yeah.
hands. Like that was me. And then all of a sudden, like I would see that and I would get so angry and so sad and so dark, and be like, oh, it's all a lie. It's not real.
Yeah.
And anytime I saw like young couples just jumping into marriage,
Yeah. You're
like
like, you'll never make it. You'll never make it.
I was totally being so judgmental.
Just cynical.
I
Yeah.
was so cynical, and as I was having those thoughts, I was like, this is so not like me. But I also like felt just hopeless, like I was never gonna have that.
Yeah.
And I grieved that for a long time, I think, and resisted it for a long time. But uh, then I kind of accepted where I was. And then I was like, I'm actually okay being single. And like, I'm not even interested in looking.
Right,
Like,
right.
I don't want it. I don't want any of it.
Yeah.
Um, like, yeah, I was very much against dating and relationships and seriously was considering just being single the rest of
Yeah.
my
I
life.
mean this is just textbook woman just got divorced phases.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting because I've been out with and dated a lot of divorced women, and it's almost like they come in 3 or 4 phases. There's like the I hate men and I don't trust them and I'm not interested and they can all go die,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
which is an especially hard phase to date. And
I imagine.
and sometimes there's the sort of, like, for lack of a better term, like a party phase, like they just want to go have fun and
Mm.
want to let loose. And then there's also sometimes a phase of they're so desperate and yearning for love that they'll almost take like
Anybody.
anything that comes their way,
Yeah.
and that's a dangerous place to be in as
That
well.
is. Yeah.
um did you fear that? Did you fear that, like, man, my bar is so low right now
Oh,
that anyone that like says hi to me?
no.
Okay.
No, I don't think I ever got to that
Yeah.
point. In fact, I think it was very much like I was like
Mhm.
very guarded,
Mhm.
and it's very skeptical. And I'm generally a pretty reserved person. Like, I'm friendly, I'm nice, but like usually I'm not the one to initiate conversation. Even like I'm gonna mind my
Yeah,
business,
yeah.
my own business, and but then if somebody talks to me, then I'm like, oh, cool, we can, like here's my whole life story.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but I was definitely not looking, and I think I was oblivious still to just like intentions in general, like guys' intentions. Um, because I was so not looking.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't on my radar. And so like um I did know though that I'd gotten very clear on what didn't work for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I learned the hard way what doesn't work,
Yeah.
and what I wasn't willing to tolerate.
Well, and it sounds like you had just very little dating experience,
Yeah.
right? Because you didn't really start till you were 19.
Yeah.
And then how old were you when you got married?
21.
Okay. So yeah, you probably had no idea what you wanted or what you needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really didn't.
Yeah.
And I really thought that, like I knew who that who he was. I
Hmm.
thought I knew who he
Yeah.
was, and it was very different after we got married, which was also very jarring and confusing.
Hmm.
I think like if I were to explain like in one word that 10 years,
Hmm.
it would be confusing. I
Yeah.
was in just a state of constant
Mm.
confusion, like disoriented. And what it really took was having a safe space to communicate what was happening,
Hmm.
because like I was super loyal, to my husband, and like I even talking bad about him to family members, like bad about him.
Yeah. Yeah. Just
uh
relaying facts.
yeah,
Even.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like just swore it off. I was like, I'm not going to tell anything bad about him.
Hmm.
And so nobody knew what kind of abuse was happening.
Yeah.
And I think through just like very uh I don't know, like over time it was subtle, but we both justified the behavior, even though like the behavior was not justifiable.
Yeah. Yeah.
um and it wasn't until like I had the courage to tell somebody about like an incident that had happened
Mm-hmm.
recently,
Yeah.
that was just weighing on me. um And I was so scared to share it, but they were like, "Whoa, you need to tell your family what's going on and you need to get help."
Hmm.
Like, professional help and you need to do it like now.
Yeah.
And thankfully, like, had me take out my phone and like text my sister and set up a time to go talk with her about it, because they're like, this is serious.
Yeah.
And it was the first time that like I'd allowed myself to feel the weight of what was actually happening,
Right.
and not just mask it or brush it off and bury it. And then that first session with the therapist was like, oh, this is actually like a really normal reaction to an abnormal amount of, crap. And so through that experience of finally understanding like the severity and the impact, it enabled me to kind of get to the root of why I enabled, and what's appropriate in relationships. And gosh, there were even terms that like I don't know how I didn't know them, but like narcissism, like it's just been thrown around so much.
Yeah, it's a buzzword.
It is. Yeah. And so I never really taken it seriously or looked into like, what is a narcissist? What is narcissism? And so I was even like a little like deterred by it when it came up in counseling of like, oh, like that sounds very narcissistic. And I'm like, oh, there's that word again. But actually like learning about the psychology, right? Like behind it all was very empowering. Finally, I felt empowered to be like, oh, this is actually what's happening.
Right.
And there's a word for it. There's a name for it. And so because of that, I had the tools for the first time in my life to recognize when it was happening.
Yeah.
And then my tolerance for it was like so non-existent. And so I think to answer your question, like, was my bar low? Like, no, I think it was very high because it was like, I never want that again.
Yeah.
And I'm never going to allow somebody to treat me like that again.
Right. That's great.
Yeah.
I love that you're a writer. I'm a writer too. I've written a few books. Yeah.
So cool.
But I would love to hear how you would describe loneliness, because it's such a powerful emotion, and sometimes it feels really different when there's kind of like loneliness when you're just fully by yourself and you feel like you don't have anyone, but there's also really deep, troubling loneliness when you're in a relationship that you feel lonely inside of.
And that one is harder.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Gosh, I had never felt as alone as I did in my first marriage. And I felt like I was doing all the right things, I thought I was trying, even in a spiritual sense, like I felt like I was checking all the boxes, and I just remembered times when I was sobbing and, on the bathroom floor of like, I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to. Like, why does it feel like this? And why do I feel so alone and so abandoned and so neglected? And I think because it's somebody you're so intimate with, that withdrawal feels extra painful.
Yeah.
And almost like, I guess that's where resentment comes in, but it's like, if they loved me, like they would be here for me in these times of need instead of dismissing me.
Right.
And so that dismissal, consistent dismissal over a long period of time, and the withdrawal and the neglect and the abandonment, like, it was, I can only describe it as an ache. Like to my core, I just ached. And I just longed for a sense of companionship, and care um, that I just didn't get. And it did feel very different than the loneliness and despair that I felt, 2-3 years into being a single parent, like after my divorce.
Yeah.
It was different because I felt so free and liberated afterwards. It was like this giant weight had been lifted, and I was the only one responsible for my own misery.
Right.
Right? Like it wasn't being imposed on me by somebody else.
Yeah.
And so like it felt very different. There were definitely times where it was just like, woe is me. Depths of despair, it felt more dramatic, and it was real, and it was intense. But it was like mine and mine alone.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. One word you used that I thought was really salient was neglect, and I think I've never experienced, that level of loneliness inside of a relationship. Mine has been very much just me and myself. But that word neglect is interesting because I think sometimes you feel neglected like cosmically, right? You feel like your soul has been neglected. You feel like you've been just left out in the rain and no one even knows it.
Yeah.
And that's it's such a heavy feeling.
It is a heavy feeling. And that's like a beautiful and sad description.
Yeah.
That I can absolutely relate to. And that I wish that no one would experience,
Yeah. What's your advice for someone that feels like they're just in the depths of loneliness?
To talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I had spoken up sooner to anybody.
Yeah.
To anybody, but well, maybe not anybody. Like somebody that's safe.
Yeah, someone you trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can only be truly vulnerable in a safe space. You should only be truly vulnerable in a safe space, But yeah, if anyone is ever feeling those deep pangs, of loneliness, even confusion, I would just say have the courage to speak up about it, and that could even be like a session with a therapist. I was terrified to go to the therapist, and I felt like I needed permission to, and like I was not given permission to.
Yeah.
And it's so silly to say that, like, but in my first marriage, it was literally like I just felt so controlled, and I had to be careful about what decisions I made, and so that was just a no-go.
Yeah.
Right. And so if he said no, it was no. And I wish that I'd listened to my sisters, because they're like, well, even if he won't go with you, like you should go for yourself.
Right.
And I wish I had gone for myself. And so I guess my fear for anyone is that like they're gonna lose their voice because I lost mine.
Yeah.
And any way that you can keep it, any way you can keep that inner voice, and trust it.
Yeah.
But I think that so often we isolate ourselves, and there are so many different reasons that we do that, but it all stems in fear. But if we have the courage to talk, just open our mouths and talk about what's actually happening. I think that's the only way to move forward and get out of it.
Yeah, I think when you keep stuff all bottled in, I think your thoughts get really dark and really twisted. And so that, like, no matter what you're feeling, if you can just tell a friend about it, even, like, a lot of times, if I'm going through a nice little bout of loneliness, like, I like to just tell a friend. I like to just say, like, hey man, I'm really lonely right now and it sucks, and I don't even need advice. I don't even necessarily need like a hand on my shoulder or a shoulder to cry on. I just want to share this with you as a friend. Because if it's just me and my thoughts, it gets dark in a hurry. So I'm like, man, when I'm going through stuff, I have to share it with people, or I start to spiral. Yeah. So tell me how you sort of rediscovered joy and love with your new husband.
I will start by saying it's still a journey.
Yeah, of course.
And it's kind of a funny story because I was still like kicking and screaming going into it, honestly. It wasn't on my radar at all. And I knew Brandon, my husband's name is Brandon, from years and years prior. We took a single class together at college, my first year after high school. And for whatever reason, like, I was there for 3 semesters, but like, he's like one of the only people I remember, even though I barely knew him.
Yeah.
And we loosely stayed in touch, as in we were Facebook friends for all of those years. And, I went and married and had my family, and he got married and had his family. And so it'd been 15 years since we had seen each other or talked or anything. And he showed up to one of my band's shows. And immediately recognized him, but we had like 30 seconds to talk, before I got swept away or whatever. And there wasn't really anything there. It was just like, oh, that was Brandon from college. And I didn't even know he was divorced. Right. I didn't know anything about him. And so we ran into each other 2 months later, randomly, like right before Christmas, in a Walmart at like 11 o'clock. And
where most love starts.
Oh yes, in Walmart. And I was actually so embarrassed because I was working there. Like, I had hit rock bottom, man. Like,
shout out to Walmart.
No, I was like very humiliated, which is terrible because they treated me really well.
Yeah. It's just a job.
It was a job. And I needed something secure for me and my kids, that would also be flexible with my school schedule and kids. And they were amazing. So I worked at the gun counter, and I was going in to help my supervisor just prep for, the pre-Christmas rush. I was not supposed to be there. And I saw him, and I was like, I should be going this way to clock in, but that's Brandon.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll just say hi.
Yeah.
And so we ended up talking, for 30 minutes.
Right.
And it was so refreshing because that's when I learned, like, he'd been through a divorce, and he'd been divorced for 6 years. And the most encouraging and real thing was just like, oh, you're doing amazing. Like, you're exactly where you should be in the process.
Yeah.
And it was like such a relief. I was like, oh my gosh, I needed to hear that.
Yeah.
I felt like I was drowning and failing. And, and then that was it. And then I think that he might have reached out on Facebook and was like, hey, I'd like to continue that conversation over lunch or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, thanks. Like, I just was like so not interested.
Yeah.
And
Why weren't you so interested?
because I was still just in that place of like resenting men in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I just was like, nope,
Yeah.
not.
I've been victim of just being a man.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, and so it was just interesting because I got the most intense like urge that I needed to reach out to him, and I was like, no, I'm not going to reach out to him.
Yeah.
Like, no. And it just kept coming back and coming back and coming back. And so I was like, fine. So I gave him my number because I'm like never on Facebook, and he's never on. I mean, he's never on Facebook. Like this last post was like 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And so like I was like, this is probably not a good way to communicate with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so here's my number. And
how long after the fact was this?
Gosh, maybe just a month or two.
Okay.
Probably like 2 months.
Yeah.
And so we set up, we went on a date,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like real talk. It was real talk about kids and, single parenting. And it still wasn't like, sparks were not flying.
Mm-hmm.
It was just kind of like real talk.
Yeah.
And I left being like, man, I just overshared. Like that was a mistake.
Yeah.
And not feeling great about it. And then I was just like, okay to be done.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like, well, that didn't work out.
Yeah.
Like there's no potential there. And
I hope my wife says that one day about me.
It's so true though. Like that's literally how I felt. And I walked away just being like, whatever.
Yeah.
And then like 2 weeks later, again, it was like clear as day, like, you need to text Brandon. And I was like, I don't want to text Brandon. I don't have anything to say to him,
Yeah.
And it happened over and over and over and over and over and over all day.
Yeah,
literally a whole day where it was like, and then it came to me and it finally was like, oh, is this like a prompting? Like, is this like a, like not just my brain, like what's going on? And I was like pissed actually. And I literally like looked at this guy and I was like, fine, I'll text him.
Right.
What do you want me to say?
Yeah, script the text for me then.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And he did. He was like, all you have to say is, thank you for that date. Like, thank you for the date. That's like literally
just a post-date text weeks after the fact.
Weeks after the fact of like, thank you for the date. And I was like, thank you for the date. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Send.
Mm-hmm.
And like within seconds, he was like, I have been thinking about you all day and was going to ask you on a date. Like, if it's not too last minute, do you want to like go on a date with me again? And I was like, okay. And so we did. And again, it was not like, it wasn't intense and, like the sparks didn't fly, but it was just more real conversation, getting to know him a little bit better. And the next date that we set up was literally, I think we were together for 8 or 9 hours straight.
A full work shift.
Yeah. And we did not stop talking the entire time. And I think it was like very cathartic for both of us.
Yeah.
And we went on another date after that, obviously. And I think that date was when we were like, oh, we're aligned in like almost everything. That's like our core values.
Yeah.
The alignment was like insane.
Yeah.
And at that point, it was an emotional decision for me. It was like a logical decision of like, it would be stupid not to pursue this because
everything else is lined up.
Yeah, we're in such alignment on the important things. And so like it would be stupid not to explore this. And so I think he felt similar because he was very just like, like he had gone on maybe 3 dates that entire 6 years. Like he had
Oh,
not been in a
wow.
relationship
Yeah,
at
yeah.
all and hadn't been open to it at
Yeah.
all.
You guys are wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he was like really, really cautious as well. And but from that day forward, we spent every day together. We saw each other every day up until we got married.
Oh, wow.
Like we didn't miss a day.
Yeah.
And our conversations were long, and it was like it was more like interrogation sessions,
Right.
honestly.
Right.
Yeah, we were just like constantly interrogating each other.
Yeah.
And and it I don't know how to this sounds terrible. Like you know those sensations that you feel. Like I think of like the first time I fell in love, and it's like such intense emotions.
Yeah.
You know, and I think because I was so reserved and because I had been so hurt before, that like it was really hard to allow myself to feel those things
Yeah.
towards him, and allow myself to like be absolutely enthralled by him,
Right.
because it was always like this what if of like, okay, but like,
Yeah. I mean, your heart was just probably still pretty closed.
yeah, it was. And so like I I loved him, and I adored him. He was such a light, right? Because I had just like been through so much, and I felt like I was always like bogging things down, you know, like
Yeah.
I, if the mood was here when I walk into the room, it's just like, wah, you know.
Well, you just had so many heavy years.
I did,
Yeah.
yeah. But he was just like a breath of fresh air,
Yeah.
and he's fun and humorous, and so it was like he brought this light back into my life, and I think I kept waiting for that moment of where I'm like, I'm gonna feel just like, oh, that dreamy, you know what I mean? And it just never really came in that way, and it was more of just like, I choose this person, and I'm dedicated to this person in our relationship and our future and our family.
Yeah.
And like he's like my best friend, you know, we get along so well, we're so similar. But it wasn't like an infatuation ever. And I think I kept just waiting like, oh, maybe I'll heal enough that I can feel this like depth that I'm craving.
Yeah.
And it's been a process. Like, I feel like time is getting me closer to being able to feel those emotions deeply again.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to describe it other than it's like I feel them in a shallow way.
Yeah. So it's like you're trying to like carve out depth in the relationship, and it's, you know, it's a bit by bit,
like emotional depth. Yeah. And I think it's coming through consistent rewiring, you know, because it's like in situations where I'm used to a specific response, you know, when he doesn't respond in that way, and he responds like in a gentle way, and he's kind, and he's, you know,
you're like, well, what's going on?
Yeah, you know, but it's like rewriting my brain.
Yeah. Because before, you probably never really like associated those kind, loving feelings with romance. Right?
Yeah.
So now when you experience them, you're like, well, what are these?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally. And it was it was refreshing to be like, oh, like he's not going to abandon me when I'm like emotionally compromised, you know? He's actually gonna like move closer in instead of moving farther away.
Yeah.
Um, and because he shows up in that way, in that capacity consistently, and he has consistently over time, it's like now I can trust him fully,
Yeah.
you know, and I can trust and expect and feel safe to open up,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and slowly but surely, um, like I'm feeling more like my old self.
Yeah.
But I grieved. I had to grieve it because there was an absolute death of old Riah.
Yeah.
You know, I will never be the same person.
Mm-hmm.
And like that was really hard to swallow for a while because I was just like hoping that I would get back to that like happy go lucky
Mm-hmm.
person that was always glass half full,
Yeah.
or you know, like
Yeah.
always optimistic, always sunny, and where like I didn't have to choose to be happy, you know what I mean, like, or make a conscious effort to
That
be
was your
happy.
default
It was
setting.
my default setting. And so there was like a grieving period, realizing that like that wasn't my default setting anymore. It was just
Mm-hmm.
different, you know. And then coming to a place where like I love I love who I am as I am, kind of accepting that,
Mm-hmm.
so that I can be, I don't know, like, um, more present in my relationship.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, instead of like waiting for something that's not going to happen to me,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh no, this is actually like the way it is now. This is my reality, and it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, like I can still um love and live fully like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I love that. I really love the idea of saying, well, our level of depth right now is honestly a little shallow. Um, it's not the dream I have, the ideal amount of depth,
mhm.
but I'm gonna keep carving,
Yeah,
and if my depth is is 2 feet deep, I'm gonna chisel away until it's 3 feet, and then I'm gonna go for four, and I'm just going to make that my mission, and be obsessed with creating more depth, and maybe it takes a really long time,
yeah,
but that's a really beautiful and like worthwhile journey.
it is.
Yeah.
It has been beautiful, and I'm like so grateful for him, and for this just a whole journey and experience, because it's not just he and I either.
Mm-hmm.
We're creating depth for our whole family,
Right.
you know. And it is like a very hopeful outlook too, because like I know that over time it's just going to deepen,
Yeah.
you know.
Mm-hmm. What are maybe some practical tools for increasing your depth in a relationship?
um
Speaking of interrogation, I'm just coming at you.
yeah. um so we we work with a family counselor
Hmm.
often, and it has been game changing because we both brought, you know, our own baggage
Yeah.
into this, and
And
most
you
of
you
it.
you had 3 kids and he had 3 kids? Okay.
So yep, exactly. And I feel like um a lot of mine came up when I was in my first relationship after my divorce,
Hmm.
right? And so like I kind of had to face them head on and as they came.
Yeah.
And my partner at the time, like he had to deal with with that,
Yeah.
you know, bless his heart. Because stuff would come up because trauma's weird,
Hmm.
and I would have these visceral reactions and responses that like I didn't even understand.
Yeah.
Um, and so I had done a lot of work because I had been in a relationship,
Hmm.
and I was his first relationship for 6 years.
Right.
And so he wasn't expecting stuff to come up. He's like, oh, I thought like I'm good.
Right.
It's been 6 years. Like,
Yeah.
I'm fine. And then turns out, oh, I'm not fine, and he has these preconceived notions of how I'm going to respond to him when he's in crisis mode, right? Just the same that I have those preconceived notions about him.
Yeah.
And they're not true.
Right.
They're not based on reality or even experience together, at least. And so I think for us, part of creating that depth has been working with a professional to heal old wounds and to understand why we're having these responses, or why it might be difficult for us to initiate these conversations. Initially, like my go-to is like withdraw until I figure out like what's going on, and then I can talk about it.
Yeah.
And when I withdraw, it's like triggers something in him of like, and so it's like a really bad combination.
Yeah.
And
like, will you just let me withdraw?
Yeah,
My
like
goodness.
I need to figure this out. And he's like, I want to figure it out with you.
Right. It's funny how we all just have different styles.
Yes.
Of communicating and arguing and all those things.
All of it.
Yeah.
And so it's really nice having somebody that's like neutral to help us be like, hey, you guys are on the same team. You have the same goals.
Yeah.
It's not like you and the problems between you, it's like problem here and you guys on either side of the problem. It's like the problem's over here and you're side by side facing the problem.
Right.
And that has been invaluable to just like have somebody who's in both our corners that understands what's going on when we don't.
Yeah.
To just walk us through it and give us tools, right?
Yeah.
And so like that's invaluable. And also putting in the work like individually, because there are times that I catch myself like falling into old routines where it's like I just resort to like resentment, and it's like, well, I'm just like, I'm gonna brood. It's like, because even if I talk to him, it's nothing's gonna change because that was my experience for so long.
Yeah.
And so it's like I go into this like doom or gloom. And so instead of choosing closeness, I choose to retreat.
Yeah.
Which does not help the relationship get deeper. It doesn't move us forward. And so like I've had to get real with myself and get uncomfortable and just be like, no, like I'm going to break these cycles.
Yeah.
And even though I don't want to, like, I'm going to show up and choose closeness in this moment, even though it's really hard for me to.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to take a lot of practice for me. Again, I'm just like rewriting code.
Yeah. Well, I love that. I feel like that's such a great relationship mantra to just say, I'm choosing closeness. Like we have so many opportunities throughout the day to like do things that make us less close, even if they're really micro examples, but like I was talking to a friend and her husband go to couples therapy, and she said our therapist, like the thing that really changed it for us, our therapist told us there's these things called bids, right? And she said basically anytime you say something to your partner that is essentially a possible moment to connect and they reject that bid, they call it, you're getting further away from your partner. Even if it's a small thing like, babe, let me show you this thing on my phone. And she's like, I'm busy. Can we do that later? You're kind of rejecting a bid.
Yes.
Right. And sometimes it's a physical bid. Sometimes it's emotional. But the therapist was like, these are little, maybe 20, 30 moments throughout the day to possibly connect. And when we reject them, we get further away from each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the idea of saying, you know what? I've got my own things I'm dealing with, my own stressors, but I'm going to choose closeness.
Yeah. And man, even you saying that like makes me think of parenting and the kids.
Yeah.
And like how easy it is to dismiss their bids.
Right.
And
because they just want to show you crap all day long.
Oh yeah. Or share the most random facts and yeah. And how easy it is to be like, I have homework. I've got to do the dishes. It's like I can't right now. And like I know how that feels.
Yeah.
To be dismissed over and over and over again. And woof, like that's making me want to prioritize choosing closeness with our kids too.
Yeah.
Like being more aware of that.
Yeah. And, it's funny. I look back at my childhood and I remember moments of like when I was a little kid, I was obsessed with drawing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I would always just want to like draw with my mom and we'd get some coloring books and we would go at it. And I remember those are great memories for me.
Yeah.
And she could have easily just done it every once in a while when she had nothing else to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure she always had crap to do, but she knew that was a great little time for us.
Yeah.
And I remember asking my dad to, come play basketball with me and come throw the ball around and all those things. And I'm sure there were times where they, obviously were too busy, but the main memories I have of my childhood and my parents and our relationship is them saying yes and doing things with me.
That's amazing.
And that's, like even I catch myself now, I'll go hang out with my sister and like my nieces and nephews and, they're young and all they want to do is play. Right. Yeah. And sometimes like my nephew is 5 or he's 4 and he wants to go outside and like hit golf balls and he will do that for 6 hours if you let him.
Wow.
Like he will not get tired of this. And so often he's like, Uncle Tay, can we go outside? And sometimes you're just like, no, I want to like text people on my phone.
Yeah.
But I've tried to tell myself like, man, when he asks you to do something, just go do it because he's going to remember that. And it means way more to him than it probably does to you.
Like means the world.
Yeah.
To them.
And so like, why else are you here? You came to visit them. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, I just love that reminder for myself too, to just accept those bids, I guess. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. And I will definitely be keeping that in mind moving forward.
Yeah. What, that interim you had as a single mother, I just have just the absolute most respect for single mothers because it's like parenting is so difficult with a partner, right? But by yourself, how do you, obviously you don't have a choice really, but how do you summon the courage and the time and the energy and all the things you need to be a good mom and to also not walk around with guilt because you're not a perfect mom?
It honestly is just a miracle. Like I don't know how, looking back, how I did it. And like, I think I just had divine help, honestly.
You're just in survival mode, kind of.
I was absolutely in survival mode. But I also think that it was the first time in, over a decade that I was able to cultivate my own environment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I chose to create a space that was really beautiful and safe for my kids and I.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, it was actually easier being a single mom than it had been being in that relationship.
Yeah.
Like in so many ways, it was easier.
Right.
Because sometimes it felt like I had 4 children, and one of them was just very large,
Right, right.
you know, because I was like so responsible for managing his emotions on top of everybody else
Yeah.
and everything else. And so um, I just created this space for us that was so healing, and it invited creativity,
Yeah.
and was surrounded by mostly my bandmates who have become like family to
Yeah.
me, and they were there through all of it. And so um I can only describe that home. I lived in this beautiful old historic home. It was built in 1903, brick, and it had like the original molding and stained glass, and it was just like charming and imperfect. And it was a haven for us.
Yeah.
It was an absolute haven for us. And I prioritized my time with my kids. And so I made it clear to my employers that it's like, hey, I have my kids half the time. When I have my kids, I'm not working. And so I would give my availability a month in advance.
Yeah.
And so when I didn't have kids, I would work overtime. I would just like work as much as humanly possible to make up for the time that I was with them. But I just like I wanted to be available when I had them, and so my classes in college, I scheduled them while they were in school so that I could be as present as possible. And I think that prioritizing that is like literally what saved me in that time period, because my kids and I had like so many moments to just bond and heal in that space. And always prioritizing adventure. So we spent lots of time outside. And gardening and creating and adventuring and treasure hunting, just like all the things. And I think also at the same time, I just like could not stop for a moment, or like all of the balls would drop, that I was juggling. Like I just felt like I couldn't slow down and I couldn't stop, or else everything would fall apart. And so I literally survived off of like caffeine and corn dogs.
Corn dogs? No, not the corn dogs.
Like, I'm not even kidding. Because I would work and go to school, and then I'd be with the kids, and then I'd put the kids to bed, and then I would study for 3 or 4 hours, do homework. And oftentimes I wouldn't get to bed until like 3 in the morning. And that was my norm for like 3 years. And it was so not healthy. And
but at least you had the corn dogs.
Yeah.
Were these frozen corn dogs?
Well, they were. I would heat them up.
No, yeah. I didn't know if you were hitting a gas station corn dog.
No,
okay.
Like Foster Farms.
Okay.
Yeah. But that was like literally like all I had time for is like, okay, throw a corn dog in the microwave and then go and get an energy drink.
Gosh, I wish we had a corn dog sponsor right now. That would mean everything to me.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I just like was like full throttle just for fear of not being able to keep up with everything.
Yeah.
And it was really, really hard for me to learn how to ask for help because I was getting burnt out. Like it was not healthy at all. And my sister kind of sat me down and was like, hey, you need to work on your network. And what she meant by that was like, you need to allow other people to like provide childcare for your kids.
Right.
So that you can get a break.
Yeah.
And they're still being loved and cared for and in a safe environment while you're getting the rest and break that you need. And it was really hard for me to take that initial plunge because it was just like I was so used to doing everything on my own and keeping the boat afloat, know.
Right.
And so relying on like a community that I had to create for my kids was initially really hard, but it was like life-saving.
Yeah.
For all of us.
Yeah.
for those days when it was like, oh, I have to go into work and my kids are here, I actually have people to call, you know?
Yeah.
And shoot, I totally forgot what the initial question was, Taylor.
Who knows? It was a while ago.
Okay,
That's
cool.
fine. That's fine. I was
But, yeah.
gonna ask. So, you said you've written a couple books about motherhood, or things for new mamas.
Yeah.
What has been the focus of those, and what you're trying to communicate to them?
Oh, it's good. So they're really simple,
Mm-hmm.
and like most of my stuff's kind of quirky,
Yeah.
with a little whimsy, but I just wanted to take my experiences that surprisingly, like the first time that I had a kid, and then it was like, Mom, this is happening. She's like, oh, yeah, that's perfectly normal. I'm like, if it's normal, why didn't anybody tell me
Yeah.
about it? You
Right.
know,
Right.
they warn you about everything leading up to childbirth. So, like labor and
Right.
delivery, but they don't talk about the 2 months afterwards,
Mm-hmm.
which is the hardest part, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so, I was completely blindsided by the, I guess, like the healing, part of it. And I just wanted to provide first time moms with like a little bit of insight of what to expect, and also like simple products that helped me, like were
Right.
lifesavers
Yeah.
during that period.
Did you experience any postpartum?
I didn't actually. Like, I think, there's a difference between postpartum depression and baby blues. Like,
Mm-hmm.
baby blues are very normal because hormones
Yeah.
are shifting, and like I cry a lot during this pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pregnant,
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so like there's a normal range, and then there's a very abnormal range. And so I never experienced the extreme,
Right.
which I'm really grateful for.
But it might be hard for people to know, like, which am I
Yeah, what's
experiencing?
normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's best to just like talk about it.
Yeah.
Like just talk to somebody regardless. Um But my goal was to just kind of equip first time moms with like a little toolkit.
Mhm.
And I always provide these baskets to my first time mama friends
Oh, cool.
that have all of the items in it with the little
Oh, nice.
booklet,
Yeah.
because it's like you're gonna need these,
Yeah.
And in that section, or in that book, there's also a section that's designed for the partner,
Mhm.
of like, here's what to expect and how to support.
Mm.
And then a whole resource section in the back that, provides examples and even products so that people can give that gift of experience to other people.
Yeah.
My hope is always that it can grow. And so it's like, I give it to them, and then it's like, I want you to write in this things that worked for you and
Mhm.
things that didn't, things that you would add, and then give it to somebody else who's a first time mom, and it can just, I don't know, keep going.
Yeah,
from
that's so
there.
cool. One of my good buddies just had his first kid, and we were texting, and we're just like, how's everybody doing? What's going on? And he's like, man, baby's healthy, baby's great. He's like, but it's been so cool to just focus on serving my wife and just making sure she's taken care of, and making sure she has everything. And he's like, it's such a cool, like, just part of like the biological process. It's like, I now have this opportunity to like serve my wife more than I ever have. And it's been really like healing for us, which is really
incredible.
Cool. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. And like how hopefully is and should be,
Yeah.
in my opinion. That's amazing.
Yeah. I have a quote I want to read to you.
I'd love that.
I'd love to hear your thoughts. This is by Henry Miller, the novelist, and he said, the aim of life is to live, and to live means to be aware joyously, drunkenly, serenely, divinely aware. In this state of godlike awareness, one sings. In this realm, the world exists as a poem.
Wow. That's amazing. To live is to be aware.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Awareness of all of it. What does it take to be aware in like today's society and
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah. It takes a lot more than it used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No kidding.
I love the phrase like, in this state of godlike awareness,
Yeah.
because I think to me, the moments you are the most alive and the most imbued with joy, you're aware, you're deeply aware,
Mhm.
even like when you're like entrenched in a piece of art, you're incredibly aware. You're aware of your material, you're aware of your vision, you're aware of, the tactile feeling. You're just super aware.
Mhm.
And in that, you feel a lot of joy and you feel a lot of purpose. And when you're being a mother and your kids are running around and you're trying to make sure like you're deeply aware
Mhm.
and you feel joy because that's one of your divine purposes. And so I think like anytime I feel myself slipping into a lack of awareness, a lack of um, paying attentionness, we'll say,
Yeah.
that's when I feel less alive.
100%. Wow. Man, I'm still trying to figure out like it makes me think of just simplifying,
Mhm.
right? Like I feel like we're so distracted
Yeah.
by everything all the time and everything's so busy. Like we're overscheduled
Hmm.
as a whole. Um
I mean, you probably have like 27 projects going right now.
oh my gosh, there's a lot. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to keep it all straight. And I think when we have too much going on,
Hmm.
like awareness requires focus, and it's like how can you focus on more things than at one time, more than one thing at a time, and you really can't give everything that is the most important,
Hmm.
like that needed attention and that needed awareness, um if you're being pulled in all these other directions. um so for me, like this is it's also making me think of like being aware of limitations,
Hmm.
being aware of like what our bodies and minds are actually saying.
Yeah.
It's like um what's serving us and what isn't, like, and being real about it.
Yeah.
That awareness of like, do I actually need this in my life?
Right. Yeah. Hmm.
Like what can I prioritize and what can I
Yeah.
let go? Um so that I can live, like actually live life.
Yeah. 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 It's funny. I didn't go there. I kind of thought like I want to be keenly aware of the people around me and what they're going through and
Mhm.
what possible pains they're experiencing. And I don't want to walk into a room so in my head and distracted that I can't see other people's pain.
That's beautiful.
Because then I can't really be there for them,
Right?
you know?
Yeah. That is something that I think used to be very intuitive for me,
Hmm.
and that I've kind of lost through some of my, I think probably some of my experiences, and especially as a single mom, like because I was in survival mode, like
Right.
I didn't have capacity,
Hmm.
and sometimes I feel even like guilty now for not having capacity outside of my family,
Yeah.
my immediate family's needs, um because like I have a desire, for instance, to have relationships with my nieces and nephews
Hmm.
and to know what's going on in their lives, and at the same time I I'm barely keeping up with my own family,
Yeah.
the ones under my own stewardship.
Right.
And I feel like I used to be so good at being aware and like hyper aware of how people were feeling and picking up on um, body language, to the point where like I could notice and then I could actually like uh, speak to it,
Yeah.
you know? And that's something that I crave, something that I feel like I've lost over the past several years and that I crave to get back. Um, because I do deeply care about people. And then sometimes I get caught off guard because somebody's like so in tune and they can see my needs, you know, without me saying anything. They just know.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I get snapped out of it. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, why can't I do that anymore?
Right.
Like, what's wrong with me? Almost feels that way. And so like I'm still trying to figure that out. Like, do um how do you get good at that? You know, is it just a matter of practice? Is it really like you just need to have more bandwidth, you know, more emotional availability, can't be tapped out,
Right.
you know? I would
I
be
think
curious to explore
yeah,
it.
I think it's a combination, you know. I think to a certain extent, yeah, you have no bandwidth left, right? You're in survival mode. But I think also just giving yourself some resets and saying, okay, I am busy, I am stressed, I am worried about this and this and this, but I'm going to visit some friends right now. It might even be rushed. I have an hour. We're going to get dinner, then I'm going to go back. Can I be really present with them?
Yeah.
Can I leave my other worries at the door and, you know, go in not looking what I can get out of it, but what I can give?
Yeah.
You know, like for me, that really changed my experience with like attending church. I think for a lot of my life, it was kind of like, what can church give me? You know, like I want good talks. I want great lessons.
Yeah.
I want friendliness from everyone. I want, you know, I want ministry from everyone. But, and I still want those things. But when I kind of shifted my mind to, well, what am I contributing? What am I giving?
Yeah.
Like, let me go into church saying, I'm going to try to minister. I'm going to try to be a friend to someone who's friendless. I'm going to try to like say hello to somebody that really needs it. I'm going to try to comment in Sunday school, you know, and that makes the experience much better for me because I go in with no expectations. I'm just trying to love. I'm trying to share whatever light I have.
Yeah.
And sometimes my light's a little dim, you know, but sure. But to go in saying, okay, I got this little baby light, like this is what I have to share today, you know?
And probably somebody needed to hear it. I feel like that's always the case.
Yeah.
I love that so much of just kind of shifting that mindset of like, how can I contribute?
Yeah.
How can I contribute?
And I think sometimes it's actually really helpful if you go into a situation, maybe it's church, maybe it's a family gathering, maybe it's a friend dinner, and you feel like you have nothing to give. I think sometimes you actually give a lot by expressing that and saying like, hey guys, like, thanks so much. Sorry, I've been quiet tonight or whatever. I got nothing left. Like I'm stressed about this. And I've, you know, like, I think when you say stuff like that, sometimes it emboldens people to be like, me too.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going through stuff too. And then you connect,
Yeah.
you know, and you don't necessarily need to go in with like this huge, like, lamp full of oil that can just like brighten everyone. Like sometimes you go in and you're like, I have this little lighter flame.
Yeah.
But you know, do you have some oil? You know, can you help me?
No kidding.
Yeah.
I love that because it does encourage, like, I don't know, just like rawness in general. Like I love just raw, imperfect experiences and moments, you know, because it just enables connection in a way that, you know, otherwise you can't have it with superficial, you know, surface level stuff. Yeah, so I totally agree that like being open and vulnerable about like, yeah, I actually like I'm not okay, and it's okay not to be okay. Right.
Yeah.
It gives people permission to also not be okay.
Yeah.
And be okay with not being okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. If we could sort of, for yourself, if we could strip away all of your talents and skills and accomplishments, what would you say is your favorite thing about yourself?
Oh my gosh, what a question. Um, um, Oof, woof. I think my favorite part about myself um is probably my sensitivity
Mm,
actually. Um I have always felt things very deeply. I guess I would consider myself an empath
yeah.
where I even have to be very careful about like how much I expose myself to because it can just be um like too much for me to handle. What other people are like the depth of what other people are
Yeah.
experiencing it
Yeah.
because I feel it so deeply. But I think that sensitivity it it enables me to connect and understand and relate to people um, on like a very intimate level.
Mm-hmm.
And like I value that sensitivity. Like I don't want it to go away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I experienced like one time in my life where I think I was so depressed that like I felt numb. It was the first time that I hadn't felt like anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um and that was more scary to me than all of those, highs and lows,
Yeah.
like feeling nothing was more scary than feeling the lowest of low. And I remember just being like, I don't want to lose my my sensitivity. Like I don't want to become hard,
Yeah.
you know. I don't want my experiences to turn me into um I don't know, like a jaded
Yeah.
person.
Mm-hmm.
I want to stay soft and tender.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a really important part of who I am, like
Yeah.
my tenderness. And it's something I value about myself.
Yeah. That's great. That's a great answer.
Like, I'm curious what your answer to that question is.
um, it's funny. Somebody just asked me today what my favorite part about my personality was.
Uh-huh.
Which is maybe a slightly different question, but um, I said I told her I love my ability to make people laugh.
That's great.
But I feel like I can do both. I can make you laugh, but like we can for sure cry together. Like
Yeah.
I love my ability to sort of toggle between really really silly and really really serious and deep.
Yeah.
And because I really value both a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like it sounds maybe it sounds humorous, but like I crave silliness,
Yeah.
and playfulness.
Mm-hmm.
In all my relationships, with my family, with my
Yes.
friends, romantic relationships, I want silliness.
I love
I
that.
want inside jokes. I want there to be lightness
Yes.
about life. But at the drop of a hat, I want to be able to say, I want that rawness.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to be like, okay, what are you going through? Let's talk about it. And we don't need to be silly right now,
Mm-hmm.
but we can be in a minute.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And like at that core, like what I'm hearing is like vulnerability. Like you're so comfortable being vulnerable because it takes being vulnerable to be silly.
Right. Yeah.
It's something that I wasn't allowed to be for so long.
Interesting.
And you know, my mom was again like the sweetest human ever and so quiet and reserved, but she also was like expected a very specific behavior
Yeah.
from us.
Mm-hmm.
And so I learned how to just kind of like bottle it up and keep a lid on things, because any extreme, whether happy or sad, was like too much.
Okay, yeah.
Right. And so heck, like all through high school, like I would suppress laughs and until like I couldn't remember the last time that I had had like a full belly laugh,
Yeah.
and felt almost indecent to
Interesting.
be silly
Yeah.
or which is I think mostly was in my head. I was just very self-conscious. But yeah, I think that being silly and fun and like vivacious, like it requires being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because like I couldn't allow myself to be that way for a long time.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know that I've ever thought about it that way, because I think the way I grew up, it was just like it was encouraged, it was fostered, and that was just part of life. And so, to me, when I can tell that people like struggle to be silly and playful, I'm kind of like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like what? Like hello? Like is there none of that in you? But I guess you're right. It does require some level of openness, because when you're being silly, you're kind of, I guess, your guard's down.
Totally, your guard is down, 100%. And when you can be that way around people, like it's actually beautiful, and it's something that I'm really grateful for my husband inviting that into my life and like giving me permission. Where I think this is like the first time in my entire life that I felt like complete freedom to just be, and that encompasses like all areas of Riah.
Right.
And surprise, Riah is actually pretty silly too.
Oh, surprise.
Yeah. Like and it's fun to have people to share that silliness with, and also, and then like on the flip side, to have those like real intimate conversations with. So yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. It's when in a relationship that both you have the freedom to have both, you don't worry about, is it serious time or is it silly time?
Yeah.
Because well, both are acceptable, and so we can go in and out, and we can toggle between the two.
100%.
And it's not a problem.
And one of the most refreshing things about my relationship with my husband now is like the freedom to be silly, even in an intimate setting.
Yeah.
Whereas like I didn't know how much I valued that until I had it, and then it was like it was allowed.
Yeah.
And that's like anything from just like cuddling and being silly. You know what I mean? Like it has been so refreshing and so fun and so joyful being able to incorporate humor and silliness and fun, just like fun, into every aspect of the relationship.
Yeah.
So like I love that that's something that you value.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I know you just did, but to wrap up, I like to ask if you have any questions for me.
Let me think.
And while you're thinking, thank you so much for coming on, like super last minute.
Yes.
You don't know who the crap I am, but what a fun, like really insightful conversation. Like I really, really appreciated it.
This was so nice. Thank you. I didn't know what to expect, right. Which direction it would go. And yeah, there's so many I have so many thoughts right now, but I just like I'm struggling to formulate them into questions. Yeah. I think if I were writing, I'd probably have a bunch, because I think when I write.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like so bad at verbalizing.
No, you're not.
Oh my gosh. I also think it's so funny because I initially thought we would be talking about like my song that's coming out, because but yeah, we didn't even touch on that, and that's okay.
Oh yeah, I
It's
totally
beautiful. Like, I'm like, I think
even
it's just so
forgot.
funny because
Yeah.
we're just like following. It's like stream of consciousness.
Right.
And
Well,
it's
real
so
quick,
cool.
while you are thinking, and you don't need to come up with any grand question, but um, I really did want to touch on that. What this song? I know we just talked really briefly before, but this song is maybe a little bit about experiencing a miscarriage.
It was, yes. And I think even more than a miscarriage, it was like the moment in my life where the reality that God was real and aware of me
Mm-hmm.
was something I could not deny.
And you experienced this through the loss.
Mm-hmm. And essentially what happened and what I share through the song is I was pregnant, and at the 8-week mark I went in for like the ultrasound,
Mm-hmm.
and we couldn't find the heartbeat. And so they said that's still like pretty normal, not to worry. And we set up an appointment for 11 weeks, just to follow up and check on things. But everything, like physicality wise, and like everything was proceeding as normal as like a normal pregnancy would, it seemed. But I didn't know how to explain it. I just like, I knew that something was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody that tried to talk to me about the pregnancy, or like, oh, are you so excited, or like, how are you feeling, like, I would just kind of shut down. I didn't want to talk about it because I was just like, I don't know, I don't know. And it was something that I was like so afraid to pray about
Mm-hmm.
because I was afraid of what the answer was going to be. And so it was the night before that 11-week OB appointment, and I couldn't sleep, and I was lying there just full of anxiety, and I finally decided to pray.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I had just avoided praying altogether for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was just like, I'm not even going to go there
Yeah.
because like I felt, I don't know, guilty about not wanting to talk to God, but like
Yeah.
I was just in a weird space. And so I prayed, and I prayed that, the baby would be healthy. And immediately I heard and felt this gentle voice say, Riah, you know better. I've been preparing you for this. And immediately just started crying. And I was like, I know. Um, I don't care if there's something wrong with the baby. Like, we will love the baby. We will
Mm-hmm.
care for it regardless. Just let the baby live. And clear as day, the voice told me again, Riah, there is no baby, and it's okay. And I felt this immediate sense of peace and calm, and I was able to fall asleep within minutes. And that next morning, I I knew that there wasn't going to be a
Mm-hmm.
heartbeat. I just knew, and got into the ultrasound room, and she probed around and was like, well, the OB will be in to talk to you in a little bit. And I'd never met him before. He was just the OB on call, and he
Mm-hmm.
walked in and just very gently said, so this is going to sound strange, but there is no baby, and it's going to be okay. And it was like a perfect echo
Right.
of what I had heard the night
Yeah.
before. And what he had explained was, it was actually like a very rare occurrence, but it's when the fertilized egg attaches to the uterine wall, but it, like, an unfertilized egg actually
Mm-hmm.
attaches to the uterine wall, and it tricks your body into thinking it's pregnant, but there's nothing in it.
Oh.
And so there really wasn't a baby. And I remember the disappointment, because the hope and joys of bringing a kid into the world, like there's a level of disappointment and grief that comes with that I absolutely experienced. But overall, like, I just wept knowing that God was acutely aware of me.
Yeah, yeah.
And he knew my exact circumstance. He knew what I needed in that moment. And it was just undeniable for me. Like I had always known, that there was a God. I believed it. I never doubted that. But a loving God, who knew me personally, that was the first time that I couldn't deny it and I couldn't explain it. And I also think that it's a hard topic for people to talk about. Is just loss in general. And that experience is different than most women's, like there was never truly evidence of life, if that makes sense. Other than just the hope.
Right.
But I hope that it's still relatable in a way that can be like healing and open a dialogue for women to talk about it. And something that I've noticed just in the recent last couple years is a willingness to talk about it more. And even this year, I follow an artist, and she just released a song at the beginning of the month about losing her child. And I was part of a writer's round Monday night, and one of the gals shared her experience of her miscarriage through song. And I don't think it's any coincidence that all of us are finally ready to share our stories, with the world and share our experience. But I think help give permission to have an open dialogue about it.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for it, honestly. Like, I think it's needed.
Yeah, that's so great. And I think the cool thing about music is I think music is inherently healing. Like even, you can listen to a song in a different language and it can feel healing, but a lot of times the lyrics, like somebody's hearing it and they're not really positive what the artist is going through, right? And maybe the lyrics are a little ambiguous, but it's clear that it's about pain, it's about loss or whatever. And those are such universal feelings. And, whether somebody's talking about the heartbreak from a divorce or a breakup or someone abandoning them, it's all heartbreak, right? So it's all relatable. And so whether it's a traditional medical miscarriage or whether it's a stillborn birth or whether it's what you experienced, it's a loss and it's very similar emotions. So it's cool to put that out there, and I think it, a lot of women will connect with it.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it has taken a long time to be ready to even share that story publicly, but I think that songs do a much better job of conveying emotion than I ever could, even just like through story. So it's very poignant.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Like most of the clips I post from the podcast, I add music in the background, and it's crazy what that can do to a message.
Oh yeah. 100%. I'm like a emotional wreck when it comes to music.
Yeah.
Like a beautiful score from John Williams and I'm done,
Right.
So yeah, it's powerful.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. You're the best.
Likewise. Yeah. You were awesome. Thank you for just like such honest and free conversation. Like this has been refreshing and I'm very grateful.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.